G'day YouTubers, how you all going? My name's Wilfred, West Wilfred's PC World, Lakeside Cottage in Loch Sport, Victoria, Australia. Today's date's the 12th of the 2nd, 2015, and it's 24 to 10 in the morning. Well, today we've got the GoPro in the new car, and we're going to test driving this. Drive to the surf beach, drive to the bakery, and then go see my mechanic about trying to fit a reversing camera in there, and also reversing camera, plus also do a basic oil change and all that done to a car. I'll have a chat to him about that as well. Anyway, let's head off.
So makes it pirouette, God's cry from above and all the rain keeps to see other places and other cultures and other countries. Okay, so one plus. Chelsea, why did you get into it?
Personally, I'm not into the whole schoolies thing. I didn't really want that experience of, going to the Gold Coast and just not even remembering the week. So I have loved travelling forever. I love travelling. I've been travelling a lot, and this experience, I just thought, it was a one-in-a-lifetime experience, and why not take that?
And Ellie, how did you get into this? How did you end up in Rwanda for school?
So when they first kind of spoke about it when we were in about year 8, I think for the first time they mentioned it, I was just really interested and just thought it was an amazing thing to do, and kind of said to myself, if they're still doing this when I'm in year 12, I'll go. And I don't know, I'm so glad I went. It was amazing, yeah.
Okay, Chaplain, Gippsland Grammar, John Taylor is with us as well. The grammar has quite a strong connection to Rwanda as well. Tell us about that. Okay, so the English Diocese of Gippsland is a
safety as well. Like, you kind of understand that, like, if this happens.
Foreign capital investment that has occurred in the world, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use props, but there is a graph there from a report I've read this morning, which shows very clearly that the number of claims, and they have risen, I do have figures here, sorry, they've risen about 600 a year now, they're averaging, of ICS claims, but that is directly proportional to the increase in foreign direct investment across the world. And it's a very good thing. It's a very good thing that we do have more foreign direct investment. It has allowed particularly developing economies increase their growth considerably over the past 50 years. When you think about, yeah, okay, I'll take these projections, that why do we leave out the US? We don't even, because we didn't need it with the US. We believe we should evaluate these things on a case-by-case basis. Oils ain't oil. Oils ain't oil, Senator Wilson. We should evaluate, through you, Deputy President, sorry, we should evaluate these things as we see fit. Now, we don't need them with the US because both Australia and the United States have very strong protections against property rights. So there wasn't a need for it. So let's look at it on a case-by-case basis. Now, I was talking about foreign direct investment before I was interrupted. In 1959, we had global stock of FDI, which is $60 billion. Not a lot of money at all in the context of the world economy. But today it's $25 trillion. Now that is a massive growth, and it's a very important growth because it's allowed particularly countries that are poorer and lack capital to access capital from overseas countries. Now, and the reason one of the reasons that's been allowed to grow is thanks to these investment treaties, because it gives investors in largely developed countries, Liz, the protection and the right to make sure what it is. Standing on 197.
Well, I can say that the injection actually disrupting the trade sometimes correlated by the share, particularly with taking exchange targets. However, if Senator Canavan does seek protection of the chair, I will certainly provide with that protection.
I'm new to this, so perhaps I should, but I'm quite enjoying it, and I think that the Green Senators are enjoying it. So let's
Canavan, you have the floor.
I will let you know, Mr. President, if my position changes in that regard. But as I was saying, these protections have been very important to facilitate that investment, because prior to these investments, these protections coming into place, it was quite common for governments, particularly developing countries, to expropriate property, to nationalise property, and to therefore take away the investments that foreign countries had made. Indeed, according to the United Nations, some evidence presented by the United Nations in a paper here that I read this morning, the 14 years prior to the entry into force of the first bilateral investment treaty, there were 875 government takings of foreign investment property in 62 countries, for which there was no effective remedy. International law at the time provided very few protections for investors in those cases, and it meant that, of course, there was a chilling effect on that foreign investment, and many people
elected to this place. And what's going on at the moment is a negotiation in secret of a text of a trade agreement that the Australian community cannot see. Now we have the government saying, oh, this is normal, we don't share this with people, and actually the Parliament will get to look at it, yes, after it has been signed off by Cabinet. And the Parliament then only has the right to reject the entire treaty or not. The fact of the matter is, this government, Prime Minister Abode, Mr Rob, Minister, are negotiating away Australia's sovereignty and placing it in the hands, particularly in this case, of corporations based in the United States. Now the shocking thing here is that the United States Congress has got access to the text, but we don't. We don't, Parliament. But if you're a member there in the United States, you can get access to the text. Yes, you might have to sign a confidentiality agreement, but you get to see what it is that America is signing, the American government signing up to, but we don't. We have no idea. Nobody in Australia on the street, stakeholders, none of us know exactly what is being signed up to. So secrecy, lack of transparency really matter in cases like a Trans-Pacific Partnership or in cases like investor-state dispute resolution. Now, why am I saying that it is an assault on Australia's sovereignty and sovereign whole decision of the Parliament or the judiciary either? And it's not just parliamentarians like the Greens who are objecting to this. It is the judiciary is worried as well, because the chilling effect of this is that corporations can sue a government if a government moves to take legislative action that undermines their profits. Now the classic case that Australians may be familiar with is of course the cigarette companies with the Philip Morris case. It's already happening. Philip Morris is suing Australia under an ISPS provision in a Hong Kong-Australia investment agreement. And they've also sued Uruguay for increasing the size of health warnings on cigarette packets. Legal advisor to Uruguay said, quote, "They are bullying us because we are small. This is like David and Goliath. But we will fight because it's our right and duty as a government to protect our citizens' health." New Zealand Health Minister has delayed the introduction of plain packaging in New Zealand because the fear of being targeted in similar litigation. And this is what's known as regulatory chill, where governments are afraid to legislate because it may lead to being sued by a corporation. There are plenty of examples you can think of in Australia where that might happen. You might have it with companies who are wanting to engage in fracking, for example. And if Australia brings in a ban, you can see where they, if they had already started their operations, would be suing the government for bringing in a regulation that protects public health. The same in terms of GMOs. It is, of course, we know, Monsanto would love to be able to sue Australia because Tasmania has a GMO-free moratorium. We make sure we don't have GMOs in Tasmania. It's part of our commitment to the environment, but commitment to the clean, green and clever brand of Tasmania. But Monsanto would love to sue on that occasion, and it has happened in other jurisdictions. Let me tell you, in the wake of Fukushima disaster, there was a groundswell of opposition to nuclear power in Germany, and the government responded to this powerful movement by announcing a shutdown of the nuclear power industry.
And we never seem to get that recognition when we hear Senator Milne viciously attacking corporate investors into our country and indeed other countries. Now, Mr. Acting President, trade is important, and the free trade agreements have considerably assisted Australians in their lifestyle, in their way of living, more importantly in their ability to be fully employed. Those free trade agreements and other trade agreements we've made with people, in many instances, do have these Party, what is wrong with that? The countries who invested in Australia and whose property is confiscated would be treated the same as Australia. Unfortunately, time has escaped me. I was going to raise the Labor Party, Green and Political Party stupidity of the ban on live cattle to Indonesia. And that is a very good case in point. Unfortunately, as I say, time's not going to allow me to elaborate on that. But Indonesian companies who had invested in Australia on the basis of a trade arrangement of live cattle that had been in place for decades and whose property was made worthless by a decision, a stupid decision of the Australian government, then they should have been in some way compensated for that. But unfortunately, time's not going to allow me to continue on that vein. Have some other time. But I would urge the Senate
Thank you, Senator.
reject this bill.
Senator Wright.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President. Senator Penny Wright, Greens and South Australia. Foreign Investment Protecting the Public Interest Bill 2014. The purpose of this bill is to prevent the Commonwealth from entering into an agreement with one or more foreign countries that includes a particular mechanism called Investor State Dispute Settlement Clauses, or ISDS clauses. The inclusion of these mechanisms is one of the most insidious trends we're seeing in modern trade deals. And I applaud Senator Whish-Wilson's great work in bringing this bill forward and encouraging debate on what it has the potential to not only shape the kind of world that we actually bequeath to our kids and our grandkids into the future, but to fundamentally undermine the rule of law and democracy itself. They're high claims to make. I'm sorry that Senator McDonald's leaving the chamber because he invited me to answer some questions, but he probably said he obviously isn't particularly interested in hearing those. But indeed, at one point, he scoffed at the idea that Chief Justice Robert French, the Chief High Court of Australia, may have commented with great interest on the issues that are posed by these ISDS clauses and free trade agreements. And indeed, Chief Justice French and many others have raised significant concerns. So I'll come to those in the course of my discussion today. But let's start by asking, why are these arrangements, these ISDS clauses, so troubling? And that's because these are mechanisms by which private investors, corporations who are based outside a sovereign nation with no loyalty, no interest or no concern for the citizens of that nation, can take their own action against the sovereign government of the nation and use them to sue governments